Hey everyone! I've been getting a lot of inquiries lately about chameleon husbandry and care, so I figured I'd go ahead and make a video. Now, everything I'm going to say is exclusively for Panther chameleons, which is what I mostly keep. I found that the same information can apply also to Vieled chameleons. So if you have either one of those, then this information will be helpful. Now, first, you can see how both of these chameleons are housed in... oh, Rosie got a cricket. They're housed in screen enclosures. Oh, sorry, I got so distracted with her. Oh, she's so cute. They're both screen enclosures. The screen enclosures are very important because panther chameleons need a high level of humidity. Oh, the mister just turned on. Oh, let's talk about that real quick. So this is what I use to give them water. This is a rain nozzle. You see it comes through as rain and it drips down onto the leaves. Now here, this is the same, dripping down from the leaves. She's got a Miss King nozzle though. Oh look, I wonder if he's coming up to drink. So when they get water, they don't see standing water. So it's very important for the water to be drips. Now you can use a rain nozzle and a Miss King like this. You can use just a regular nozzle like this. Now you can see that water is going directly into the pot. That's on purpose. This here too. Now it's dripping there, so that gives him plenty of opportunity to go ahead and drink that water, which also goes straight into that pot. So chameleons definitely need dripping water. This is a crucial part of their care. I wasn't planning on starting here, you guys, but since it happened, here we are. So if you don't have a Miss King, have no fear. There's no problem. There's this nifty little thing called the dripper. This is a little one. They also have a big one. It doesn't really matter which size. The little one is just fine for any size chameleon. What I do is I cut a small slit on the top of the screen here, just enough for this hose to enter, and I will place the hose through to the inside and have it right on top of a leaf, kind of in the center on top of the pot. So what I do is I fill that dripper with about a third or a quarter gallon of water. It can be RO water, it can be spring water, it can be, any of the above. Just as long as it's not tap water that hasn't been treated, you really don't want to use that, but that's pretty across the board for any reptile. So what I'll do is every other day or so, I will fill that dripper with, again, a third to a quarter gallon of water, and I will let it freely drip. The drip, you want a steady drip, but you don't want a stream because they cannot see streams as water. They'll see it as something that they can climb on. You also don't want for it to be too slow, I guess, because then they won't really, I guess too slow is not really a big deal. But anyway, you'll kind of learn with your chameleon what he likes, he or she, and what entices them to drink. So all of that is a trial and error, and each animal is an individual. So you'll learn that with your own techniques. About once a week, I'll go around and I will offer each individual chameleon water. And what I'll do is I'll go up to a leaf, just like this one, and I will drip. I can actually do that real quick, just so that you guys can see what I mean. So I have this nifty little, I have a little cart with this nifty little dripper. So I will go ahead and drip like this. Oh, that's manual. It's not so easy. Like that. So that's about the ideal drip. Now, if you put a third or a quarter of a gallon to drip here, it will drip for about 30 to 45 minutes, maybe even an hour, which is great because it gives the chameleon just enough time. Oh, he's eating again. Oh no, he's trying to come out. Of course he is. All right, Mozart. So it takes them a lot longer than what I just did to drink. It takes them quite a while. So I guess I'll let him come out if he wants. So, All right, and then also once a week, I will take this mister and I will mist the whole enclosure. You don't want to mist the animal itself. They're not really a fan of that, but you want to mist the whole surroundings. Do you want to come out or not? What's going on, buddy? He's thinking about it. All right, fine. All right, so that's the water. The water is very important. Depending on whether you live in a more humid or drier climate, that will dictate whether you need to mist more or less frequently. I live in Florida, so once a week is enough for me. But if you live in a drier climate, then you definitely want to make sure you keep the humidity high enough by misting more frequently with any of the above methods that I mentioned. So, all right, so let's go back to the repti-breezes. So these screen enclosures are repti-breezes. They can be found, you can buy them at, let's say, reptile shows. They usually have them for very good prices. You can buy them online. Any herp retailers will carry them. I found petmountain.com has them for really great prices. If you have a male panther chameleon, the adults definitely need an XL repti-breeze, which is what you see here. It is 4 feet tall, 2 feet wide, and 2 feet long. So it looks pretty big, but it's only about $100. It's really not a big deal considering how expensive glass enclosures are. So definitely go for the bigger size if you have a male panther. Now, if it's a baby, you can start out with a smaller one and then graduate to a big one. But either way, I found that my chameleons, I had my males in a large repti-breeze, which is a size between, this is a medium and this is an XL. So the large is a size in between these two. And I found my 3 male chameleons literally got depressed. Like, I swear, they, from one day to the next, just got depressed. So I was like, okay, it's time to give them an XL. So I did, and it was instant day and night. They were so happy. They just climbed all around and have been happy ever since. So it's very important to give them enough space because, you know, they're going to live there forever. Now, on the right, you see a female. This is a female panther, and she's full grown as well. So you can see the size difference here between a male and a female. She's about half the size of him, and she's in a medium right now. But ideally, I'm going to move her into a large. I just haven't had time to upgrade her yet, but soon I will upgrade her to a large, and that's what she'll live in for the rest of her days. She's still pretty young. She's only a year and a half. She's got another year and a half or 2 left. So that is very important. Now let's talk about lighting. Chameleons need 2 lights. They need a UVB and they need a heat source, which needs to be a basking spot. So here you can see I use a T5. They're a Zoomed T5 light fixture. That is a 10.0 UVB bulb. So I find that the T5 fixtures are excellent. I really, really like them. You can also use, like I do here, you can use the screw-in UVB bulbs, also Zoomed 10.0 UVB. They recommend 5.0 for jungle animals, but I prefer to use the 10.0 because if you have a 5.0, they can't seek out more. If you have a 10.0, they can self-adjust how much they feel they need. If they want more, they can get closer. If they want less, they can get away from it because there's plenty of space for them to get away from it. So either one, oh, look at him eating. So either way, the 10.0 is really the way to go. And with UVB, you gotta change out that bulb every 6 months to a year. I have heard people that change it every 6 months, every 8 months, every year. The box says every year, but what I've heard is that after the 6-month period, the UVB that the bulb radiates starts to deteriorate. So it's actually very important to change that out or your animal will not be getting sufficient UVB. So it's nice to write that down on the day, maybe put it on your calendar on your phone so that it gives you a reminder 6 months down the road, etc. But yeah, now their basking spot needs to be at about 100 degrees Fahrenheit and the enclosure needs to have a gradient down to 70 degrees. So their base, anything from halfway down is in the mid 70s. So they can go down if they want. They can also bask if they want. So you can see how he's right in his basking spot and she is right outside of it. So if she wants it hotter, she can definitely go. So I use a temp gun, which I have right here. So I use this nifty temp gun. It's actually a kitchen one, but it works just fine. So you can graduate, that's not the word I'm looking for, but you can, you know, just try it out because the ambient temperature in your house is going to affect their temperature because, you know, it's all screen. So you're going to want to do that. I use Zoomed basking bulbs. So he's got a 75 watt right now and she's got a 50 watt. And that's what I found that brings their heat, their basking spot to 100 degrees. So that will be important. So also make sure that your ballast is enough, like takes that that wattage. That's going to be very important because there's some that only take up to like 40 watts, some that only take up to 75 watts. I think these I got at Home Depot for like $6, the silver ones, and they go up to 150 watts. So that's pretty great. Okay, so what else? Let's go into the inside. So so let's start from the bottom. The Rep Debris, they come with a plastic base that comes out. But what I like to do is I like to line it with cupboard liner, which you can find at, I don't know, Home Depot, Walmart, Target, the dollar store, literally anywhere that will sell that kind of stuff. It doesn't really matter. I use a nice plastic one and I will cut it to size and it facilitates cleaning. So you can spot clean their poops because they don't, you know, they don't poop that often, maybe like once a day, once every other day. So once they poop, you can spot clean it and that will help you cleaning a lot. Otherwise, you can easily, what I do is every couple months, I'll remove the entire liner and I will hose it out, clean it out, and put it back on. If it's too gross, I'll go ahead, throw it away, and put a fresh one on. So either way, it protects that hard liner that comes with the Rep Debris, which is essentially the base, and it just makes everything so much easier. Now you see the sides, I cover them with trellis. This is all one piece of trellis on both sides that I cut in half, and I used, what is this, like that little, oh god, don't come out. Silly boy, he wants to come out. I use that fishing wire to tie it and hang it up. The trellis is to keep them from climbing on this mesh because they like to do that. They'll climb on and eventually it'll cause them to start ripping out their little fingernails. You can see how they have like little fingernails. So you definitely don't want them to do that. So putting trellis on the sides helps entice them to climb on that instead of the sides. You can see how I have a black one on the back as well. That's also another gardening material that I found in the gardening section in Home Depot. It's about the height of the enclosure, and I'll put it in and I'll use it as stability for all of the inside. Look at this guy just hanging out. All right, so next, the plant is an umbrella plant. This is a $10 umbrella plant from Home Depot. You can see how she's got one too. They're my preferred plants for chameleons. They are very sturdy. They have nice big leaves. They are just all around excellent. So I'll buy a pot and I will fill it with organic soil. I'll remove all of the soil from the roots, from the plant, from how it comes from Home Depot. I will remove all of the soil because it usually comes with fertilizer and stuff. So we don't want any of that. I remove it, pot it with fresh organic soil into this. And these are bamboo sticks. You see they're not very thick, but they don't have to be. They also come from the gardening section Home Depot. I bought a pack of like 5-6 foot long bamboos for like $3. Super cheap. And what I'll do is I'll cut them at various sizes. You can see there. And I will stick them into the pot. And with zip ties, I will add vines. And I zip tie vines all around it. You see, and I'll even zip tie vines to each other just for stability. You can see how it's nice and sturdy. No, I'm not going to push too hard because, you know, chameleons aren't very... Look at this guy. He's just hanging out. That's so funny. So the bamboo creates stability. And these vines, you can also find them at the same herb retailers I mentioned before. I found Pet Mountain has a lot of this stuff for really good prices. But I also definitely recommend seeking out local reptile providers. You know, there's always a local reptile shop, hopefully. And it's really great to support local business. But if you can't, you've got nothing around you, petmountain.com is great because they have the vines, they have the UVB bulbs, they have the T5 fixtures, they've got the little drippers, they've got ballasts, they've got the heat bulbs, all this good stuff they've got. So the more vines, the better. This is 2 large vines right here, but this one has 3 large vines. So you can see, so she's got all kinds of space. And as you can see, I use the same equation in hers than I do in his. So this is pretty much my staple equation. There's a pot with organic soil, an umbrella plant, and a ton of vines, some bamboo for stability, and it's actually quite simple. But what is he doing? So active. So now it's very important for me to mention about the water because, all right, where are you going, big boy? So the water, if you're going to use a dripper like this, which I highly recommend, if you don't need an automatic misting system just for a chameleon. So if you have just a chameleon or, you know, a few enclosures and you want to use the dripper for your chameleon, then what I recommend doing is, and what I do myself, is I drill the holes at the bottom of this enclosure. So right below the pot, there are holes drilled, and I drill through the cupboard liner, I drill through the base, and you know, because pots for plants naturally come with holes for, you know, so that they don't drown. The plants anyway, the plants don't drown. So the water goes down into a sump bucket, and I use wire racks so that the water can easily just flow through. And then maybe once a week I'll go ahead and I'll empty out that sump at the bottom. But it helps the enclosure not drown, essentially. You're not going to have any water like falling into your carpet, etc., etc. All right, and now let's talk about feeding. So I feed my chameleons crickets. You can actually see some up here. You saw him eating a little earlier too. Crickets are my preferred feeding insect because I've got that down to a science. You can see in a couple of my other videos. But dubia roaches are not legal in Florida where I live, so I can't use those. But there's a lot of people that do use them successfully. Now, I like to use crickets because I'm able to just throw them in, dusted of course. I'm able to throw them in and the chameleons will hunt for their food. Now, this is really great because it provides enrichment. It kind of excites them to be able to hunt for their food. They'll chase it and hone in on it, and then they'll catch it with their tongue like you saw earlier. It's really good for them just to keep them active. But also, you can also tongue feed them or hand feed them. They're really great. If you have a chameleon that isn't quite as friendly as mine, then definitely use food to entice them to climb onto you, just to kind of show them that you are a positive thing and not a negative thing. So if you can combine food to be positive reinforcement for the chameleon to view you as that, then by all means, you know. But anyway, so I like to throw in crickets, and what I'll do is I'll throw in enough crickets for a day or two, so they'll eat their fill one day. I'll throw maybe a potato or a carrot down there in the pot so the crickets can munch on something that is not the chameleon. And so today, the cricket you saw him eat was actually from yesterday. I do feed them 2 to 3 times a week, and I dust them. So it's very important for you to dust them so that they get all the calcium and vitamins that they need. And the UVB is what helps them digest this. Otherwise, they can't digest it, and it's like nothing. So that's very important. And now some people have dubia roaches and they use them and they're a great feeder source. And what I've seen people with dubias, what I've seen them do is they'll put a cup up here, right? So maybe with like a magnet, or they'll tie it up or whatever, and they'll use it as a feeder station. So they'll put their dusted dubias in there, and the dubias can't climb out, but the chameleons will learn that that is their food source. So they'll go and they'll help themselves and they'll eat. So that's how you can manage that. Now, chameleons will also eat caterpillars like hornworms, silkworms, etc., etc. So, and they're really nice. They're really excellent feeder sources. So, for snacks anyway, you don't want them as your main staple for their food. You definitely want a little variety, but they love hornworms and I use them as treats. Now, if you have an angry chameleon that's not really into you, then I highly recommend using some juicy grubs to entice them. And ooh, I wonder if he's getting another. So when chameleons are hungry, you see how he was facing down just a second ago? That was the hungry pose. They'll do that and they'll seek out the bottom for food. And they'll kind of position themselves facing downward and they'll eat. They'll look for food and they'll eat that way. So if you ever see your chameleon doing that, then they're either thirsty or hungry. So definitely offer them one or both. And then you can kind of learn your particular chameleon's behavior, because I find they're all different. Like they're all the same, but they're all different. So you'll definitely learn about your particular chameleon that way. Now males live 5 to 7 years and females live 3 to 5 years. So they definitely have a different life expectancy, but their general care is the same. And you see how the crickets will hang out up there? That's pretty much how you're going to be able to tell how much crickets are left in their enclosure. So that's how you learn how much to feed them as well. If you see this many left over and after 2 or 3 days they're still not gone, then you know to cut down on the feeding. Now, oh, look at how she's coming to check me out. So friendly. Now, it's definitely important to give them food so that the chameleon doesn't munch on, or the crickets don't munch on the chameleons. And let's see what else. So I covered the enclosure, the lighting, the water, the food, the husbandry. All right, so I think that pretty much covers everything. Now, if there's anything that you guys want to know that I didn't cover, definitely shoot me a message or leave me a comment. If you liked the video, let me know so that I know, if I should change something or add something, or some feedback, is always good. I'm really doing this just to help you guys because I get so many questions that I really want to be able to help everybody. And I think that providing visuals is a really fantastic way of doing that. So, yeah, keep in touch and good luck with your chameleons, guys. Happy frogging and happy chameleoning. Haha.